Got a 2010 Cadillac CTS. It's got 3.0 engine. This is the motor I did the water pump on, and we also diagnosed the oil water leakage issue we had going on out on the outlet housing. So what's going on today? We got a p0017. So we got p0017. It's a crank position sensor, exhaust camshaft position correlation on bank 1. Bank 1 on this vehicle is going to be on the passenger side. Bank 2 is going to be on the driver's side. So the plan is, I call myself doing a half-ass diagnosis day, because I am very confident the timing chains are potentially just worn out. It's a high probability because these do have timing chain problems, and they're just extremely common. So two things: we're going to swap the oil control valve on the exhaust side for bank 1, swap it with bank 2, and change the cam position sensor from bank 1 to bank 2 and see if our problem moves over to the other side. If so, likely our oil control valve was the issue. This is just a basic diagnosis, I'm going to call it. In addition, what was also going on with this vehicle, the oil quality isn't really there. The car oil life is at 88%. The sticker indicates that it should be changed next 4,100 miles from Precision Tune. I'll say something about them shortly. So the car really hasn't been driven with the fresh oil that's in there. And I kind of got little trust issues with Precision Tune. I'm going to show you the oil quality. Show you there's no smoke and mirrors here. So the oil is a little low. I want to say about a quarter. Like a quarter of a quart, I want to say. It's just black though. I know a lot. Let me try it again. Yeah, it's like a tad low. It's nothing significant. My thing is like, I know some people was like in the comment section, well, oil is going to get dark not too long after changing the oil, but it shouldn't. And I'll be honest, like that last motor job I had, Precision Tune, forgot to put the oil cap on. I've had cases where they literally didn't put oil filters in there, and it just looked like the oil filter hasn't been touched on this particular car. So again, that's the last thing we're going to do, change the oil. But let's go ahead and get those swapped out, see what happens, see if that code manifests again. And I don't know if I mentioned, I have done a crank cam correlation, a crank relearn 3 times, and the code still resurfaces. I've checked the desire versus actual angle on those cam phasers, the oil control solenoids, and they're all in sync to a degree. They're not perfect, but there wasn't anything obvious like a lagging, but we'll see what happens. Let's go ahead and get everything pulled off, and we'll get those oil control valves inspected. It's going to be the cam sensor. It's our oil control valve. sludge build up in there. I mean, it's not crazy. At least this wipes off. There's nothing on the screen here. I thought that was a rip, but it seemed like that's how they put the screen together. These little tabs can separate, and they just lay the screen over it. So there's nothing wrong with that. Now I did say I did actuate these, and they do work. So I'm not saying that they don't work. The resistance value test is going to be inconclusive as far as the state of these. It just shows that the circuit is completed to a degree. So I'm not going to break my neck over resistance value tests. In most cases, they don't work anyway. Cam position sensor. I did clean the head. I probably should have just left it alone. But I don't think there's anything wrong with the cam position sensor. I'm just swapping both of them just in case. I mean, they do work. They do work in tandem. So that's everything on the exhaust side. So let's go to the driver's side and get those out and get them swapped. Lightly take a crayon that I got for a tire and write on there that which one's going to be the appropriate bank. So here's the cam position sensor on bank 2, and this is what it looks like before I cleaned it. I mean, it had a little bit of build up on the head over there, but nothing significant. That's not going to cause any issues because it's a magnetic pickup in there. So despite it may having a little bit of build up on it, it's not going to mess up anything because it's not going to interfere with that magnetic sensor or the pickup inside of it. All right, so I got everything out, both of the exhaust oil control valves, and the more I think about it, the more I'm starting to lean towards just changing everything on one bank to another because they're all interchangeable. They look exactly the same. They're clock position. They're clocked exactly the same way. So I'm going to change the intake side too while I got this out and throw them over all on the opposite bank, and then we'll recheck it. All right, so I got the exhaust side changed. I'm just in the midst of pulling out the cam position sensor on the intake side here, and I extracted the oil control valve for the intake side. So I'm just going to get, barely got a grip on that one. So I'm going to pull this cam position sensor out, the intake cam. Not having to take that hose off, I'm sit there, I'm going to try to rotate it. Look like I can get away with doing that. And then I can pull it out. I'm going to clean this off Mark this one. Alright, everything's buttoned back up. I just don't have the power steering reservoir tightened down. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. Looks like it should stay in the position that it's in. Enough just to start it up and see if the code manifests or not. So I'm going to clear the code and see if it resurfaces immediately. Let's start it up. Let me clear it again and see if it'll set it down. I'm gonna shut it down. I'm gonna clear it and give it another try, see if it'll come back. See if one's... I just want to make sure it's not in there. It's got, okay, so let's start it up, see what happens. Alright, I'm going to pull the oil filter out now and just try changing the oil. It's worth a try. I'm not guaranteeing this is going to fix anything. But if I got to inspect it, I might as well pull it out and replace it. That's how I'm feeling right now. And like I said, this is the only thing we're putting money into as far as seeing what's going on with it. So I'm pretty confident the timing chain is just either jumped or stretched. No doubt about it. Just the reputation Precision Tune have and not changing stuff just doesn't quite sit well. Got my micro guard, what everybody, well, a couple people complain about. It's going to serve the same purpose. I had more issues with Fram than any other filter. Be straight up with you. Drain the oil and put fresh oil in there. Alright, Where do I start? So I don't know if you noticed when I was putting that oil filter back in there. I didn't put the seal on properly, and I can't begin to tell you. O'Reilly's had to deliver a bag of oil dry. I'm just gonna put it that way. So I pulled a Jiffy Lube mistake. Luckily, I checked on my work and it was just sitting here idle. So we all make mistakes, not perfect, and I say it in a lot of my videos. And I got personal accountability. Anyway, so after I got everything topped back off, all the oil topped off, took it on a test drive. The car still produced a check engine light with a p0017. So that did not fix anything like I was projecting. I don't think it's going to correct anything, but it was still worth a try when it comes to diagnosing this if you want to take the basic assessment. Now, I can't go as far as do a crank cam correlation. Here's the funny thing. I don't like Chevys like that, but I do drive a Chevy truck for just to haul junk and stuff when I need to get rid of some junk. Go to the scrap yard. I had another Cadillac CTS get towed here. How about that? So I could probably do, but I think, now here's the thing. I did look, it was a 3.6 liter engine in there, so 2003, and I looked up the timing chains. They are similar timing chains, so I'm pretty sure these have the similar signals. Don't hold me on that, but I could do a crank cam correlation and then just match it up with this one. But I'm just extremely confident the timing chains is just worn out on this Bank 1 here, and I have no doubt in my mind this is what it's going to need. It's just simply a timing chain. Bennett is just so common. Again, I went through the crank cam relearn procedure, no avail. Went to that a couple times. Looked at the data when it came to the desired versus actual angle on the exhaust and intake oil control solenoids, and the PID data. Then they work fine. It's just when you clear the code, shut the car down, and start back up, the p0017, the correlation on Bank 1 manifests. But if you clear it while it's running, it don't surface. It only manifests once you start it up from a shutdown. So changing the oil didn't take care of it, and I did that simply. I like to visually inspect the oil filter and the oil quality. And Precision sticker up there, I just don't trust them because of the reputation out here. I know the oil's changed now. I know the filter's changed. Still didn't correct it, but I've had the issue correct. I've had that code get corrected, I want to say, with Dodges in some other cases. In rare cases, it helps. So it's not a bad idea to change it. The condition of the motor looks very well. Again, this engine does have 105,000 miles on it. Swap the parts out. We swapped the cam, actuating solenoids for the exhaust and the intake, and the problem did not move over. It stayed the same, so which will indicate that bank will have a stretched timing chain. There's just no way around it. I don't think the oil control solenoid was stuck or whatever. The gear, I don't think the actuator is stuck. I just can't see that. There's no rattling or anything. It's just simply potentially jumped a tooth or so. Who knows? I just wouldn't know until I pull everything down. So this is what I'm gonna do. This was just this is a trial and error without spending money and diagnosing this. I mean, this is still like a legitimate diagnosis. It's just I didn't go as far as doing a crank cam correlation, and I could. I'm just not going to. I just know for a fact that timing changes are going to be replaced, and I put a paycheck on that. I'm gonna put it that way. So if anything does happen and I do wind up having to pull this down, I'm definitely going to document that. But in the meantime, if you do have any issues with that code, just try this, see what happens, and hopefully your problem moves over. Unlike mine, it stayed in the same spot, which again does indicate it needs a timing chain. So that is something you can put in your arsenal when making a timing chain assessment. Well, other than that, we'll see what happens. Hit that link, subscribe to the channel, stay informed, have the reassurance of my work. See you on the next one.